my son told me he wanted to start using a litter box instead of a toilet since he identifies as a cat. I immediately went out and bought one.
I mean, the money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean...
So put on the full armor of God, Jesus Christ. I love you, God. Hell, a true Jesus Christ.
But then I realized, as a family, we waste a lot of water when we flush the toilet. You know, like that's not good for the environment. And I just really want to do my part in keeping the earth habitable. So I decided that my whole family was going to start using the litter box.
And we're so concerned with what's happening in Maui, we thought we'd ask you to do something about it. You being other billionaires? I know, just like regular normal people. Right, okay, but you're giving 10 million. Well, we've committed to giving 10 million. What does that mean? Well, we haven't actually given it yet, but we're committed to giving it via you. Sorry, what was that? We're committed to giving the 10 million through your donations. What do you say at the end there? We'd like you to donate, and that's how we'll get to the 10 million. I thought that you already pledged the 10 million. Well, we've sort of committed that on behalf of you. So you haven't given 10 million, then you've just set a goal of raising it. Well, so you've committed other people's money to your own charity you just set up. With disasters like this, the number one need is money. Aren't you a multi-billionaire? Well, yes. A billion is 1,000 million. And you have multiple billion. Yes. And you also own 2,000 acres in Maui. Don't you have both the means and the moral obligation to help the community you live in? Hello? Oprah? Guys, I think she's Mitch McConnell.
This is the divine intervention. You could become a spiritual guru on your own, but you just have to tie your shoes. And you just have to know how to eat burritos backwards.
Are you sober now?
No, I'm never.
We were so concerned about what was happening in Maui.
You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that you somehow managed to hire a private firefighting team to protect your land before the fires started. You're so concerned about what's happening in Maui that instead of taking some of that land and housing even a small portion of those displaced people, you've hired a private security team to keep them off your land. You're so concerned about Maui that you simply haven't had time to denounce any of the shady real estate deals which are robbing people of everything they have. You know, like the ones you were involved in that helped you acquire that land for pennies on the dollar of what it was actually worth. You're so concerned about Maui that instead of taking what would amount to a year's salary for you and 4 or 5 of your billionaire friends, which could be used to rebuild the entire place in a matter of months, you're jumping on social media and asking the American public, most of whom can't afford to pay their rent right now, to do it for you.
Imagine, I mean, you may not even be able to put your wrap your mind around it, but imagine nearly 6 million people dying in the middle of Europe, and yet we're silent.
Millions of Congolese people have lost their life as a result of the crises that we've been discussing, and it has warranted almost no sustained and enterprising reporting from the media of the world. It has obtained no great purchase on the popular imagination. Millions of people dead.
Why is it that nobody's talking about it? This is the same international community that said, you know, when there was a Holocaust, that no more genocide would take place, and yet the same community left Rwanda genocide take place, and yet
Just gonna stand there and watch me burn. Well, that's alright, because I like the way it hurts.
My girl took all my nuts and all my babies. She fought a raccoon, now she's got rabies. But I don't even care that I'm all alone, cause I got the birds and the bees that treat me at home. And your dog's a bitch for trying to bark at me. You couldn't bark if you're born on the side of a tree. Yo.
Hi, I'm Kiko. I'm 23. I go to UCSB and I also bartend.
My name is Optimus.
This video might show you why you keep getting a headache when you wear Apple AirPods. Right here is a video of somebody using their cell phone, making a phone call, and testing it on an EMF reader. A typical phone call will produce about 100 millivolts per meter squared. The number fluctuates, but as we can tell, the average is around 100. And keep in mind, people have been known to get headaches and brain cancer just from being on the phone all the time and having the phone pressed against their ear. This is only 100. Now let's see what Apple AirPods produce. And in this video, this is just one AirPod, and as you can see, the number has jumped up to 2,500, even 3,700. Over 37 times the amount of radiation from a cell phone. And this is how much radiation they produce, whether they are connected to your phone or not. Even if you're not listening to any music or not talking to anyone on the phone and you think you're safe, not safe. Plus, it just looks like you're walking around with Q-tips hanging out of your ears. So the best option, get some corded headphones, so that way you won't have to worry about all this. Everywhere I go, man, I see these people with these Bluetooth headphones in their ears, and I'm still like one of the only people walking around using corded headphones.
They tell you the water is rising when they own beachfront homes. They scream global warming when they're flying in private jets. They tell you save the environment when they're using child labor to dig up cobalt. Because you're much easier to control when your life depends on electricity.
I work with retards.
Isn't that a little politically incorrect?
Oh, the hell with that. No one's gonna tell me who I can and can't work with, right?
No, I mean...
With the pharmaceutical business, it's so powerful. This is all the stuff that I learned after that, was that they spend upwards, in a non-election year, 85% of all spending for television, the internet, which is now bigger than it was 10 years ago, up to 85% in a non-election year is big pharma.
Yeah.
It is only one other country that allows, direct to consumer drug ads.
Yeah.
So there's a gigantic amount. So, and if you take a look, and what was really interesting in California and then nationally was the biggest donors for every state legislator, and then federal, and then Congress and Senate. You realize the tentacles and what pharma is. Pharma is the legal drug cartel. They are. And they've managed to figure out a system of just like, this is just collateral damage for them. It's the cost of doing business. Children dying, people dying. It's like, they'll just pay it off. Until there is criminal charges, it will continue. Until a CEO or people on the board are brought up on criminal charges for fraud, negligence.
I agree.
That and criminality. Until there's a homicide charge, it's going to continue. Why? Because it's the cost of doing business.
We are open 7 days a week with our restaurant open from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. and visit our famous food-to-go bar 24 hours a day, including holidays. Our restaurant is a place where all enjoy great food, especially our famous fried chicken, steaks, liver and onions, spaghetti, and many more. We pride ourselves with giving the best service in town. Our bakers are experts in wedding cakes, sports, children, and our special image and photo cakes. In addition, we provide our homemade ice cream, balloons, phone orders, and delivery service. Voted the best restaurant in the Bay Area. And we also have the California State Lottery.
This was planned years ago. It's now happening. And all the poor people, the homeless, the hardworking people of the hotels, the kapuna, we lost everything. So you could have your satellite city.
Why is our town burnt down? Why are our families' houses gone? And if you can explain that to us in a logical, reasonable way, we'll accept it. But right now, there is no explanation.
A small family had to evacuate, and their property manager had the nerve, because their house was filled with ash, that they didn't deserve to still remain in the property because they left the windows open when they were evacuating.
Most of them are they're even worse off now. I'm coordinating hospital visits because of the way that the system and the governor has imposed rules without any dialogue with any of the people who are doing the work on the ground.
Lahaina needs to decide what happens in Lahaina.
So it's done, baby. Let's go. I love putting nuts up inside my mouth. And when I grab this mic, I'm going to spit them out. What? No, Alvin, cut that part out. Because I'm feeling like I'm running and I got to get away and I got to watch out for the birds of prey because the hawk and the eagle eat my people. Why is this world so nuts and evil?
I'm a red-tailed hawk. In our world, I do have the body of a hawk, but while fronting, I consider myself a Therian because I am in a human body, but my identity is still a hawk.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul.
When I handed Vi the certificate, she got extremely emotional about it.
she wept, and it meant so very much.
People want to believe.
They want to believe they've gotten an answer.
And it's not fair of us to let them believe that we're giving them certain answers, because scientifically, we just can't.
Hank Greeley is concerned that the science isn't really there yet for you to be giving them the name of a tribe.
I think for most companies, I would be concerned too.
But what about your own company?
We have
He
the
didn't
largest...
exclude you. He included you.
But we have the largest set of sequences from Africa. And so with that, we're able to provide some level of probability in terms of frequency.
But he would say that even though you have the largest database,
is one of Oprah's favorites. She says it's a miracle fountain of youth and her magic wrinkle cure. So I'm going to put a little on your hand.
I'll do that. Oprah did.
Yeah, Oprah did it. All right, so here, we're going to rub it right in.
How come it's red?
I'll show you in a sec, Steve. But so it's made from human foreskin.
what are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean.
Well, that was demonic. Now, there's this conspiracy theory that Hollywood elites and politicians use adrenochrome in order to extend their years or to look younger. Now, you heard what this woman said. She said that they get this substance from children's foreskin. This is why it's red. This stuff comes from babies. It's a child's blood. They're harvesting the blood of children to extract adrenochrome. So they're putting all these things in their faces, and it's like their fountain of youth. It comes from babies. As a deliverance minister from Africa, I understand this stuff. Blood sacrifice, human sacrifice, child sacrifice. I understand these things. This is demonic. It's not a conspiracy. It's a fact. This is what they do to look younger. It's absolutely satanic.
This has nothing to do with public health. It has nothing to do with breaking any waves. It was always about breaking people. They simply wanted to see how far can they go. How far would the people allow them to take away their fundamental rights? Then they really bashed down on these people, threatened them with their livelihoods. You are no longer allowed to go to war if you do not get the...
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce. Don't get that honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
This motherfucker jumps on my car. Gets right in front of my car. Get off! Move! What are you doing? Get off my car!
Incredible technology now being developed where you can swallow a camera that's actually the size of a little tiny vitamin capsule, and it gives you about 15 hours of footage from inside the digestive system. And what the researchers did was they gave one group of people a homemade meal. They actually made noodles from scratch, just from flour and water, and served it in a broth made from water and vegetables and salt and pepper. And then the other group, they were given bought noodles from the supermarket that come with a sachet that you add hot water to, and that was served with a blue drink, a blue sports drink. And then they swallowed these cameras to give the visuals of what then went on. And 4 hours after they swallowed the real food meal, all that was left was white fluff in the digestive system, and that's how it's supposed to be, really well broken down by that stage. But for the people who had the bought food meal, 4 hours after they ate it and swallowed the camera, you could still see the teeth marks in the noodles. So what that suggests is if you have food in your digestive system for 4 hours exposed to all of your digestive enzymes and it hasn't been broken down, it suggests that maybe there are substances in some of these processed foods that we have no ability to break down. But then further to that, the blue drink had actually dyed the noodles blue. And that's because the dye in the blue drink was derived from petroleum, and we have no ability inside of us to break down petrol. So a number of artificial substances and colours and sweet...
When we refer to someone as yellow, we consider them to be what?
Chinese?
Not Chinese. Over to Jerry and Murray now. Yes, Jerry.
Cowardly.
Cowardly is correct. 30 very much.
Wow, Miss Clark. Why are you showing this to kids?
Hey, I'll warn you guys now, if you're going to be inappropriate, I will have supervision down and give all of you a Saturday school for next year. So knock it off.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I love seeing this. I love seeing young people stand up to the indoctrination in their classroom. That is what they should be doing. Boo the video. Your math teacher showing you a rainbow cult video and then threatening Saturday school because you don't want to watch it and you're saying, why are you showing this to kids? America, this video should give you hope.
Just gonna stand there and hear me cry. Well, that's alright, because I love the way you lie.
Now this gay marriage. They telling me I gotta get gay married?
Okay, Bobby, no one's telling you you gotta get gay married.
Too late! I done married my buddy Zeke.
Howdy.
How's the fishing?
Not even a nibble.
You see what these sicko liberals are making us do?
And see, before gay marriage was legalized, I could have married any lady I wanted. It cuts an now, and I'm stuck here married to Bobby.
Yep. We decided to go ahead and get it done before the government made us do it.
See, you still got the gun.
We got rid of all the guns, though. That's the next thing the government's going to come after. Ain't that right, Zeke?
Apparently the man doesn't think it's safe to have guns in the house when you got a little kid running around.
You guys have a kid.
My dads are awesome. They're always holding hands and kissing because that's what the government wants them to do. And they said when I grow up, I can be anything I want to be. And that sexuality is fluid because that's the way things are running anyways.
Now she's going to go off and get a good Ivy League education, come back here and take my job.
It's just another immigrant taking an American job away.
I thought you run your own business.
I do. I run a clinic for unwed mothers.
You're a doctor?
We make love in this bed every night. Because pretty soon there's going to be an amendment where we have to do it anyway.
We better get going. It's almost time for mosque.
What?
Oh, yeah, we're Muslim now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wouldn't have to speak Vietnamese, they just make English the national language.
This will be a national record.
I can't tell you what it really is. I can only tell you what it feels like. And right now it's a steel knife in my windpipe.
Sarah has spent most of her life in Plymouth and had the accent to match until recently.
So, fish and chips. Chips. I said that right?
Yeah. 3.5 years ago, she was rushed into hospital with a migraine, which left her with a voice she didn't recognise.
I have not actually heard my voice in the conversation for nearly 3 years now.
Her initial response upon hearing how she used to sound from a bank telephone recording
Good afternoon, thank you for calling.
was to long for her old accent to return.
Yeah, I'm not actually ringing about my policy though. I'm ringing for a quote. Do you still want my policy number?
I know it's me, but I feel like I want to say, oh, she make a good speak. She speak a good. But like that, not me no more.
There's one picture you can see all the spots.
Sarah has been diagnosed with foreign accent syndrome. The condition has only 150 known cases worldwide.
Although it's called foreign accent syndrome.
Why olives? Because they might be dead people. Eat olives? No, we can't eat them. Bring out the olives.
Now, this is a mobile phone in the pocket, something maybe a few of you know about. Recently, Consumer Reports in the United States advised that nobody keep a phone in their pocket. And this is just a little simulation here of the radiation as it's moving. And one of the things we know is that the dielectric constant of the penis and the testes is rather high because they're full of fluid. More fluid in a part of the body, the higher its absorption will be. And this is just a simple illustration of the dose to the gonads and the bone marrow. And that is why, in fact, this is one of the secrets of cell phones. They are always tested in a holster. They are never tested in the pocket.
Will take office as the 19th President of the United States on March 4th under the restored republic. Let me explain. You believe you live in a nation called the United States of America. This nation hasn't existed since 1871, when this country ceased to be a nation and became a corporation belonging to the City of London. Every time you see an American flag with a gold fringe and gold tilt attached to it, it represents the corporation, not the country.
Wow.
This is the reason you can never make progress financially. This is why the law always seems to be against the average citizen, while the rich and the elite literally get away with murder and worse things. If Biden, Harris, Pence, Pelosi, etc. are arrested for their crimes before January 20th, there will be no one to assume the presidency. Since Trump has not been certified as the presidential winner by Congress, he cannot remain president. If there is no president on January 20th, the corporation known as the United States of America will be dissolved.
What?
The military will then become the guardians of the nation during the transition. People will then have irrefutable proof that the election was stolen by foreign entities and that Trump was chosen by a landslide. Trump then assumes the presidency as the 19th President of the United States. The last president elected before America became a corporation was Ulysses S. Grant, Republic Restored. Now, I really don't know all the details involved in this. Just know the end goal has always been the destruction of the 1871 corporation and the return of America to the people of the constitutional republic it was always intended to be. The next month and a half will be chaotic. Make sure you have plenty of water, food, your meds, anything else you need. Comply with the National Guard and United States Marine Corps. They took oath to the nation, not the corporation. The Act of 1871. Be vigilant. Pray. Your nation has returned to you. I just want to say I'm Canadian, and I could not be more proud of all of you and everything you're doing to literally save the world. You Americans, MAGA, you have shown everyone how to do it. You set an example and you lit the world on fire. You're salt of the earth, and I love you. God bless America.
Wake up! Grab bread, put a little leg up. I start straight away to shake up. Walk your keys on the table. Here you go, create another fable.
Got a veggie sandwich. Literally just has veggies. They gave me 2 chips, although I asked for an apple, but that's okay.
Next tonight into that question I mentioned, is your TV watching and listening to you? New smart TVs with internet connections able to transmit your private conversations.
I'm pretty sure we had to see this coming. Samsung and other smart TV companies sued for spying on the people. We purchased these things to make life easier, not to have whoever spying on personal conversations. And got the nerve to say words can be used against us.
Samsung's privacy policy telling consumers, please be aware that if your spoken words include personal or other information, they will be captured and transmitted to a third party.
They say you can turn this feature off, but can you? And we can't forget about the creepy hackers. The best and only thing that can be done. Disable this feature, don't use the mic, and no private conversations while the smart TV is on.
They gave me the wrong sandwich. Oh no! Turkey with bacon and cheese. I'm really, really upset right now. I'll try it.
No one has ever shown that human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. Never been shown. And if it could be shown, then you would have to show that the 97% of emissions, which are natural, do not drive global warming. Game over. We are dealing with a fraud. It's a scientific fraud from day one. We hear the propaganda that increases of the gas of life, a trace gas in the atmosphere, will bring a disaster and that we will have runaway global warming. We've known for 200 years from chemistry that it's the exact inverse. We see it from the ice cores. When we drill into ice, we have chemical fingerprints that tell us what the temperature was, and we have little bits of trapped air. And we can show that when we had natural warming, some 650 to 6,000 years later, we had an increase in carbon dioxide. It's not carbon dioxide that drives temperature, it's the exact inverse.
Cause I ain't got no fucking orange juice, man, for this damn, for these smoothies, baby.
So do you want me to put the taco seasoning in the meat?
Why don't you put taco seasoning in the meat? What you making?
Spaghetti.
So why would you use taco seasoning?
It's still seasoning.
But it's seasoning for what?
Tacos.
So why would you put, you season the meat like you would season just regular meat? Season salt, a little bit of garlic pepper and some more shit, not taco. You use it only for tacos. What made you want me to put taco seasoning in?
Because it's seasoning.
For tacos. Why the fuck do I like you right? The louder you get don't mean that you're gonna get even righter, more righter.
Okay, so you don't want me to put the taco seasoning.
Well, baby, it don't go in there. It don't go in there. That was not a question for you to ask me, baby.
Alright.
What the hell you get mad at me just for alright? What type of shit is that?
People would rather starve than to eat American food. American foods that are banned by other countries. These foods are banned is because they contain ingredients that cause health issues. Chicken has been banned since 1997, and the reason it's banned is because they wash the chicken in chlorine before it goes on market. Mountain Dew banned because it contains a chemical used to put fires away. Man-made growth hormones in the milk, which are carcinogens, and as you know, carcinogens cause cancer. They say an apple a day will keep the doctor away. American apples are treated with a BPA chemical, which is also a carcinogen. A lot of these foods have carcinogens in them. Cereal, Skittles, Twinkies, Arby's baked goods, Coffee Mate, pork. You ever notice the pigs in America are a lot bigger than the pigs in every other country? They use ractopamine. Ractopamine is banned in 160 countries. Some of these countries are third world countries. People would rather starve than to eat.
This is not a veggie sandwich. Wow. Alright, well, here we go. It's not bad. Bacon. It's pretty tasty. Honey, that is not what I asked for.
Grab brush, put a little makeup. Hot skirt, fade away sugar. White please keep on table.
The 15-minute cities, they will have to have those before they can lock you down. So in Great Britain, some county already passed legislation. They will be able to impose a climate lockdown. That's the next step. So in order to do that, they will have to have these 15-minute cities. The next step then, of course, will be you are only allowed to leave your immediate area for, let's say, 2 or 3 times a year. So, but there's other people that may have more money and they can actually buy your passings off of you. So guess what? The poor people will be left in these 15-minute neighborhoods, while the ones that are better off get to go wherever they want to go. Look at Saudi Arabia, for instance. They're pulling up Neom City. They call it the Line. So this is like a structure in the middle of the desert, 200 kilometers long, 200 meters wide, 500 meters high, and it will house up to 9 million people. If I wanted to get total control of the people, that's exactly where and how I would house them. And then having them on a 3 meals a day prescription, well, guess what will happen if you do not do as you are told. They will probably cancel that. It's so easy. It will be a complete impoverishment and enslavement of all the people.
You ruined everything, you stupid bitch. You ruined everything, you stupid, stupid bitch.
And then now you're playing guitar, electric guitar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What else do you want to learn?
你现在在学怎么弹电子吉他，你还想再学什么？
Just one question. Just what else does he want? I don't know what you're telling him, but just ask him what I'm saying.
Okay, sorry. 就弹一些演奏曲子，就是只单。
Never mind. Okay.
These children are not just kidnapped and in some cases bred by families as a cash crop. We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them. And when they are sold, they come without birth certificates, which means it's easier to kill them and have no one ask where they are. We're also importing children by the plane load. Again, children who have no documentation. It's not just child slavery or child sex abuse. It's also child torture because you have adrenalized blood. You have the whole blood drinking ceremony of the satanic world. And then you have ritual ceremonies and ritual murder, as well as incidental murder. The other working assumption is how long do these children survive within this system? What I am hearing from the witnesses that I've talked to is 2 years. It may be longer. It may be 4 years. It may be 6 years. But by and large, these children are so abused. I mean, we're talking rapes by the hour and so forth, that they reach their expiration date within 2 years. And then they're murdered with impunity, or they're ritually murdered if that's what they've been bred for.
Hey fam, get a load of this right here. Listen, BRICS, aka Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are launching their own currency not backed by gold. So not a promissory note, but actual backed to gold currency standard. This is crazy for us. For the ones that built this country, the ones that live in this country, America, this is a crazy outcome. What do y'all think is going to happen to the U.S. economy when Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa launch a new currency soon backed by gold?
One of my missions is to turn on its head the idea that carbon dioxide is a pollutant and somehow dangerous, when in fact it is the most important nutrient for all life on Earth, and without it this would be a dead planet. So I say not only is carbon dioxide good, it is essential, and it's a good thing that we are putting some more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because it was running low before we came along. If we had definitive proof that CO2 was causing serious problems and we could prove it, don't you think they would write that down on a piece of paper somewhere so people could read it? They don't have definitive proof, period, in science. I'm a student of the philosophy and history of science, and I know that the scientific method has not been applied in such a way as to prove that carbon dioxide is causing the Earth to warm.
You think in a few years, say 50 years from now, people go, that was a really stupid period in our history when we tried to change all our energy policies to cut this gas?
I am firmly of the belief that the future will show that this whole hysteria over climate change was a complete fabrication.
What I'm saying is the planet's on fucking fire.
I mean, the money is there if we can save the banks.
On appliances. So from this administration, we've seen them go after gas stoves, air conditioning units with regulation, refrigerators, washing machines, dishwashers, now water heaters. How many more home appliances will Americans eventually have to replace then because of regulation?
So just to be clear, when it comes to water heaters, and it is proposed, what has been put forward, and if it is enacted, it would not take it into effect until 2029. So let's not forget that.
not, for the love of God, tell kids that slavery was beneficial, because I can guarantee you it most certainly was not. Thank you.
Education and civil rights advocates are slamming new Black history teaching standards in Florida. Under the new rules, middle school teachers must now include lessons, quote, how slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
It's inaccurate. It's ahistorical. Critics are calling this a big step backwards and saying it's a disservice to Florida students because they're not going to learn the full truth and the full accurate truth of American history.
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.
Please look at camera for entry.
And if you're standing on the shoes and look into the spheroid until you get the green light, that'll open the door for you.
Oh, stand on the shoes?
A wimbo it, 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 wimbo it, a 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 wimbo it.
I've been fucking hoes and popping pills, man, I feel it's like a rock star. I've been fucking hoes and popping pills, man, I feel it's like a rock star. All my brothers got the gas and they always been smoking like a rock star.
Why is everyone so fucking stupid? Why aren't more people intelligent, like me?
Ooh, she's cute.
Yeah, they are.
They? Is there another one out there?
Not just them.
Wait, how many people are you dating?
One.
She's the one.
They's the one. Who? Sarah.
Sarah, she's the one I just saw.
They are, yeah.
They? Are you messing with me right now?
No, but you said she.
Yeah, I know.
They are they.
They? You said it was just one.
They are one person.
So, her name's Sarah.
Their name is Sarah.
Oh, never mind.
Wimbo it, a 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 wimbo it, yeah.
This girl.
Sarah.
Yes, Sarah. She is...
They don't go by he or she, because they are non-binary. They don't identify as one gender or the other.
Okay. Okay. I get it, sort of. So since they isn't a boy or a girl...
They don't conform to one gender, yeah.
Right. Does they still like boys or does they like girls?
They don't conform to a strict sexual identity either. They are queer.
Oh, so they're gay.
You have been warned. They have always known.
What are you doing running? And you're saying it was really good out?
It's the perfect texture for running. Very low impact on its dry snow so your feet don't get wet.
All right, thanks. So we've seen a lot of people out here, like you said, running, sledding, just enjoying it. One thing, oops, that can happen, unfortunately. Looks like Chelsea's okay. You okay? Yes.
What would actually happen to your body if you really gave up sugar? I mean, completely. For 2 weeks. Let's take a look at that. Number one, you are going to lose your appetite to sugar. So by getting rid of sugar, you get rid of the craving for sugar. Number two, you're going to be less hungry. Until you do this, you won't really fully know, but I'm telling you, it's the sugar that keeps you hungry all the time. When you give up the sugar, you become a lot less hungry. Why? Because you stabilize your blood sugars. Number three, you're going to have less fatigue, especially after eating a meal. When you're eating sugar on a regular basis, usually you're going to be tired after you eat, and that is a blood sugar thing. Number four, you're going to lose excessive water and fat. For the first week, you're going to dump a lot of water and some fat, but after that, it's going to be more and more fat.
JP Morgan, Chase Bank shuts down Dr. McCullough's company account and his employees' accounts. Dr. McCullough has the #1 natural health website and is a critic of teen.
Telekinesis is basically the ability to move objects without the use of a touch.
It's just moving your hand, you create an energy, and then it starts to move. You see,
I've seen Guy use metal objects so far. I want him to prove he's not using magnets.
Paint.
Paint stir.
Wood, yeah.
The paint stir definitely wasn't metal, which cancels out any idea of magnetism.
I need some scientific proof of what you're doing is real.
I'm taking Guy to a neuropsychologist who will look at his inner brain workings and find out if he's truly superhuman. And he's demonstrated his ability several times to the doctor.
I felt 2 touches right here.
But we haven't looked under scientific testing. The EEG machine show anything superhuman in Guy's brain frequencies?
Alright, no wires are attached.
Guy's brain activity when he's doing nothing is completely normal. Bill measured Guy's brain gamma waves during the pen move and found some astounding results.
The point that the pen first moved, he had this very large burst of gamma activity.
This woman has an extraordinary gift, even though everyone thought she was crazy. In 1982, Joy welcomed her husband home from work when she suddenly noticed that he smelled really bad. It was a truly unpleasant odor that irritated her nose. He took a shower, but the smell persisted. Her husband simply thought it was something from his work. But as the days, weeks, and months went by, the smell became stronger and stronger. Joy was frustrated to be the only one noticing this smell. In her circle, no one thought her husband smelled bad. People thought she was crazy or simply being unkind to her spouse. Eventually, Joy had to learn to live with the smell. 12 years later, doctors diagnosed her husband with Parkinson's disease. She accompanied him to a support group, and when she entered the meeting room where all the Parkinson's patients were gathered, she smelled the same odor as her husband's, only 20 times stronger. Finally, she understood. She didn't know how, but she could smell Parkinson's disease. She contacted researchers who politely dismissed her, once again thinking she was crazy. But Joy persisted, and the scientists finally put her to the test. They had her smell t-shirts, and she was able to identify which of the owners had Parkinson's disease, with only one mistake. Turns out, 8 months later, that same person she was wrong about was also diagnosed with Parkinson's. She had detected it almost a year before the researchers did. Thanks to her, scientists have identified molecules related to the disease in sebum, which allowed them to develop skin tests that can detect the disease with 95% accuracy, enabling the possibility to start treating patients much earlier.
Oh. Nothing. If you let blacks get control, everything would change. With some people, there was no idea that there would be any fairness or any democracy or anything, you know, that there would be a decent, well-run city government, county government. If this happens, we're lost. And it was just a terrible fear, a sense of being powerless. If everybody that was willing to go to a certain step would move at once, then it would be accomplished. But we were all scattered out there. Nobody knew who else was willing to do what or make what changes. Leadership in the churches was, a lot of it was really people who knew what the right thing to do was, but were terrified of taking any stand that would upset the congregation. Politicians, even people who knew better, who would have been willing to go further personally or to have the state move forward, were always bound by fear of not getting reelected. People who knew better just stuck with racism for political reasons, is what I think. But mostly I think it is of losing control. Some higher level of trust, even of dishonest or corrupt white politicians, than of a black in some position of authority over you, for people who had grown up with these myths and fears, so that it was easier to stick with somebody that you might not have even cared for, who was white.
I am the queen of the universe. The waves part, and they engulf me, and the water is warm.
So this is a perfect example of a microaggression. I am absolutely positive that this woman saw them eating their food. She just didn't care, okay? And more than that, not only did she squeeze in between this young lady and the railing beside her, she also played with her hair directly over her play, right? A lot of people, I'm not even going to say specifically people, because a lot of people of color do this as well. But a lot of people will go out of their way to be passively disrespectful to black people, specifically black women, to send the message that these spaces are ours and you do not belong here. Now, if a black man comes in here with the white counterpart, that's fine. But no, you don't belong here. And this is the shit that really pisses me off, because people love to swear that black women have a victim mentality and we just go places looking for reasons to be oppressed. Like that shit doesn't follow us around. Like this woman isn't just trying to eat her lunch. So instead of telling black women that we have victim mentalities and that we're obsessed with being oppressed, why don't we focus on the women that go out of their way to be passive and weird and microaggressive and do their best to oppress us simply because they can't handle the shine?
What I'm saying is the planet's on fucking fire.
Checkmate of righteousness! Jesus Christ! Shoot of peace! Stop it on the enemy! We love you, boy! Jesus Christ!
There are a lot of things we could do to put it out. Are any of them free? No, of course not. Nothing's free, you idiots. Grow the fuck up. You're not children anymore. I didn't mind explaining photosynthesis to you when you were 12, but you're adults now, and this is an actual crisis. You got it? Safety glasses off, motherfuckers.
Why would they make you president?
Well, maybe it's because I can recite all 50 states in a quarter of a second.
Do you know that the day that Columbine happened, the United States dropped more bombs on Kosovo than any other time during that war?
I do know that, and I think that that's really ironic, you know, that nobody said, well, maybe the president had an influence on this violent behavior. No, because that's not the way the media wants to take it and spin and turn it into fear, because then you're watching television, you're watching the news, you're being pumped full of fear. There's floods, there's AIDS, there's murder, cut to commercial. Buy the Acura, buy the Colgate. If you have bad breath, they're not going to talk to you. If you got pimples, the girl's not going to fuck you. And it's just it's a campaign of fear and consumption. And that's what I think that it's all based on, is the whole idea that keep everyone afraid and they'll consume.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Guys, I love this fuck. I love this shit. I love this blah blah blah. And There are priests that f little boys, Catholic priests. There are people that f little babies and take their organs or their blood or their sweat and drink it. There are people that eat human flesh because they think whatever what's going on. I never wanted to be in this club where you join something, you make a deal with the devil, you sell your fucking soul, and then you have to hide for the rest of your life. I'm not playing this game.
Dr. Bowens, my last question is what is the success rate of sex change operations?
Well, we have, it's hard to find longer term data with children, but what the data that we do have, which is probably the most reliable data point available, is from a Swedish study, and it looked at over 10 years, which is really important because regret doesn't just happen a year after some sort of transition. And what you see is a suicide rate that's associated with 19 times higher than the general population.
Well, actually, there is a 0%, there's a 100% failure rate for sex change operations, isn't there? Because it's not possible to change your sex?
That's right.
100% failure rate for these procedures.
That's right. You can't change your sex.
My son identifies as a cat, and his school is not taking that seriously, and I am honestly planning on suing them. So yesterday was the first day of school, and during class he was licking his paws, and his teacher told him to stop, and he didn't. So she called me and she was like, hey, you have to get your son to stop doing this during class. It's really distracting to the other kids. And I was like, I'm not going to tell my son that he can't express himself. I have raised my son to be who he is. And I just think that it's really sad that these schools are trying to indoctrinate children and, you know, putting them in this mold to make them think that they need to act like a human, whatever that means. He's not a human. He's a cat. Anyway, I am planning on suing them because they don't accommodate for him. And I just want to know if there's any other parents out
there. This is not against the law for me to speak my mind. So why is it that when young black men do something, and Martin Scorsese can make movies that talk about bitches and niggas and it's fine, and he can be a role model. The Osbournes can do the same thing that Ludacris can do, but he get his Pepsi deal taken away. Same thing with Don Imus. We here in front of Congress, but regardless, Don Imus got that $1 million contract to go on to his next business deal. The truth is, we have been being demonized since day one. Of course I can be a role model. Look at Ice Cube. He's one of the most powerful guys in the music industry. What if we would have stopped him in NWA days? We wouldn't have given him the responsibility to grow. It's the process that makes us men. Yeah, there may be some things that we are not doing right, but Snoop Dogg said the most powerful thing. I wonder why people want to get us in front of Congress and talk to us, get in front of the TV and talk to us. Why aren't they men or women enough to pull us to the side and say, maybe you didn't know no better. Maybe your mother was on crack. Maybe you only saw your mother being disrespected, and his mother disrespected that mother, and it went on and it went on. Nobody comes to us and talks to us.
I didn't know that dribbling, the way dribbling came about of how we know it to be right now is because at some point in Brazil, black players, there were rules that allowed white players to be able to do whatever they wanted to black players, like tackle them, just the two-footed, studs up, anything. Oh, shit. And so the black players had to get really creative in terms of how they handle the ball and how they move around on the pitch. I love us. So that they can avoid the white players from injuring them. So that's basically modern day dribbling as we know it. Yeah. The sole reason of why Messi plays the way he plays is because black players had to literally survive on the field and find a way to escape that.
Other parts of cultures coming as well, talking about Brazil specifically. Ginga is a type of sway and actually associated with that in terms of fighting styles in Brazilian history. Bring that into the culture, obviously the liveliness, and bring that to the dribbling. Step over FC over there. So
you know how it is.
Yeah, it's shocking.
It's shocking. 1,900 food production companies in the past year
have been destroyed. The 2 largest egg manufacturers in the United States have burnt down in the past 36 hours. We've had 2 planes smash into meat processing centers. And the only commonality amongst all of them are these 2 things. They make food for Americans, and it's on American land.
The American people do not trust the federal government. They don't trust Congress. They don't even trust current presidents because of the kind of possible and alleged corruption that we see at every level of government, and no one is ever held to account. I try to call the balls and strikes regardless of whether or not you have an R or a D by your name. I've been accused, all of us have been, over this particular issue that we're conspiracy theorists. We're not. What we're proving to you today is showing you actual bank records, actual evidence of shell companies and businesses. There are more businesses and more Bidens involved than we knew of. You have to issue more subpoenas because every time we turn over a rock, there's more information, there's more possible corruption, there's more possible allegations that need to be investigated. This is what we know today. Money flowed from the Chinese Communist Party, aligned with individuals into American shell companies, and then that money was wired and transferred to Biden family members. This could be the most corrupt scheme in American politics, where a sitting vice president, where we saw members of his family, 9 members so far, there may be more, that were enriched from countries all over the world. And we're providing more information about Romania today. We know about China. We know that the president denied this during an election in 2020, continues to deny it to this day. And we want everyone held accountable if they have violated their oath of office. We shouldn't have folks that are in office that are betraying their oath of office. We shouldn't have people in office that are betraying their country.
I just really want to do my part in keeping the earth habitable. So I decided that my whole family was going to start using the litter box to save water. And since we've done that, I change it multiple times a day. Otherwise, it gets really smelly, as you can imagine. So the answer to your question is multiple times a day. And honestly, I just want to encourage everyone else to consider this, because this planet, we need to take care of Earth, because we got to have a place for future generations to live.
This, and you still did it.
You're going to make this happen?
No. We're going to make models much cheaper. Then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels?
Fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yes, you're getting there. I knew you would. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets. Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us.
Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, 2 weeks ago had the unmitigated and, I would say, quasi-demonic gall to announce publicly that $8 a gallon gasoline in Canada was actually probably a good thing, because Canadians should be reminded nonstop just how severe the climate crisis is every time they fill up their cars. And that's perfectly bloody fine unless you're living on the edge of your economic capability. And the fact that you can't afford to fill up your car anymore puts you into unemployment and food deprivation in relationship to your children. And that's in the rich West. And so when you hear these bloody globalist utopians talk about the necessity for higher energy costs, you remember that that comes directly at the cost of the world's poor.
My son identifies as a cat.
So I identify as both a man and a lesbian. For some reason, you can't wrap your head around that. And that's okay. It's okay.
We're all really sick of being condescended by people who are living in a delusion. People who want to act like they have something to educate us about. People who act like we are so inferior for not understanding their super self-absorbed and made-up identities. I don't care how you identify, you cannot be a man and a lesbian. That literally contradicts the very definition of what it means to be a lesbian. And for you to think you can just come in and redefine what it means to be a lesbian is exceedingly narcissistic. And yes, I can't wrap my head around that.
Says that I'm there for robbery, but it's dismissed, but it's still on my record.
You can get it removed. Arrests, and folks need to understand this, arrests that don't lead to convictions can be removed by going to the court that acquitted you. You get the court order of dismissal, or from the prosecutor's office when they give you a no charge order or what have you. You take that to the, unfortunately, take a little work, a little leg work. You take it to the police department and ask to have your fingerprints returned, and ask for it to be taken off of the database. And then there will be no record of an arrest. And if you do have one conviction, then you can have that expunged after 5 years. What you gonna say? Stand up. Stand up.
So this ain't got nothing to do with the case. So anything I got on my record that's dismissed, I can have that removed?
Absolutely.
That's all I want to know.
Absolutely. And this is a big issue, and that's why I'm spending a minute on it, because so many people are arrested erroneously just for being in the wrong place, particularly people in poor communities. You walking up and down the street, police jump out, they think you look like somebody, or they think you look like you're doing wrong, and what they call it, illegal search and seizure. They throw you up against the car, take you down, then find out you didn't do anything. Well, it's on your record from then on, and so that's a big problem.
I would like to.
When you see somebody in the road, you stop your car.
Stop? There. Yes, I did stop that.
You don't keep accelerating forward.
Why do you protest on a busy vein of traffic in Cedar Rapids, Iowa? Because you are telling
Objection,
people...
Your Honor. They were stopped in the roadway. People were continuing to cross. Sort of like what happens after a big athletic event or a big concert. It is not a defense to this crime that the people were walking against the traffic lights. It is not a defense to this crime that the defendant was frustrated having to wait in traffic. It is not a defense to the crime that he had a green light.
But for the first time now, the CIA has released documents that show its role in the 1953 coup. That is the coup that toppled Iran's democratically elected prime minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, had moved to nationalize oil production in Iran. Well, the U.S. was concerned at the time that that would mean a victory for the Soviets in the Cold War. So shortly after his election, the CIA began to plan his overthrow, teaming up with Britain's MI6.
Now, the CIA, we've seen it spelling out its involvement in a series of newly declassified documents. These are the actual documents marked confidential, top secret, eyes only. It's the stuff of crime and mystery and spy novels. This one talks about the security implications of CIA letters of commendation for those who served in that operation codenamed TP Ajax. Almost a month before the coup, it talks about preparing an official American statement to follow a successful coup.
We're missing it educationally because we've never sat down and discussed the historical relationship between us and the educational system in this country. Remember, the educational system was designed on a public policy that's gone in a complete circle, 360 degrees. First of all, we were denied education. Then we moved from a denied educational basis to desegregated education prior to the Civil War. Then we moved after the Civil War into segregated education. Then by the 1950s, we went back to desegregated education, and now we're back into a state of denial of education. Then I'm going to talk about dismantling the school system, going to voucher systems, or going to some kind of private school system. What that means, Daryl, is that black folk fail to understand that that schools are not change agents. They're only doing what the environment wants it to do.
Take our black asses out of here. Sing this motherfucker
All right, so Maui gets hit with a catastrophic fire, and Pedo Joe has no comment, but he does send $23 billion to the laundromat over in Ukraine. If this event, what happened in Maui, was an animal, it'd be tilapia, because it smells a little fishy and it's not exactly all natural. And another thing, what are the odds that the Maui police chief, John Pelletier, just so happened to be the same police captain at the other fishing incident, which was the Vegas shooting?
But I'm not done yet.
Here's the real kicker. Maui has the largest single integrated public safety outdoor siren system in the world, with around maybe 80 sirens, and not one of them went off. And if you look at the pictures that are coming out in the video, I'm seeing palm trees standing up with some pond fronds still hanging off of them, but cars are melted down into the concrete. Concrete itself melted and just destroyed. But yeah, palm trees and also lounge chairs and umbrellas by restaurants stayed untouched. But you still have people that think this is natural, kind of like what happened to 9/11 when everyone found perfectly preserved passports, and the fact that steel melts at a way higher temperature than jet fuel burns. But hey, the government cares about you all the way. And before any dense cabbages going, well, actually not really, then explain Building 7 first and then comment.
They're testing giving us poison shots. They're testing releasing viruses. They're testing cutting off pipelines and gas and fuel and creating inflation. To create the angrier world, to then organize the starving masses into launching their great reset that is the controlled collapse of civilization. So there's a cover-up in Maui, in Lahaina. They know that they didn't trim the trees. They know the trees and bushes fell on the power lines. They know they let the power on. They know they turned the water off. They know they didn't issue the alarms. They know they let the whole thing happen. And then the police chief who ran the Vegas cover-up, in my view, we know that thing was a cover-up, he's magically there right after they failed to buy the town out from under the people. They're saying the town's worth $5.5 billion. But once they build high-rise hotels, it'll be worth 3 or 4 times that. And we already have the governor announcing that's the plan, and Oprah and all the rest of them. This is disgusting. And Hawaii is the greatest example of a bunch of billionaires, over 100 of them, that have moved into all the major islands and are pushing everybody else out. They want it as their own private preserve.
Getting the roof done. Oh, Braxton!
Our bodies are so complex.
Oh, and then you got 60,000 miles of blood vessels.
60,000 miles.
Yeah, 2 1/3 wraps around the earth is in your body.
Man.
Every one of your cells that have DNA in them have 6 feet of DNA. Which is enough DNA to go to the sun and back 300 times.
300. Wow.
That's how much DNA you got in you.
Man.
That DNA is information. It's files on a hard drive. What type of quantum computer you got?
Wow.
So you just gotta access it, and the code and the algorithm to do what it do.
There is one drink that leaches the magnesium and the calcium out of the body, and that is caffeine. Now, there was a bit of a groan last night when I mentioned this one. I call it Australia's darling. Is it New Zealand's darling too? What's a darling? Something they love. And it's very, very effective at leaching the calcium and the magnesium out of the body. And most people don't realise that coffee is a huge contributing factor to dehydration, to heart malfunction, and also to imbalance in heartbeat. So there are some things that have to stop if you want to keep the heart with all diligence. One of them is caffeine, because of the way it leaches the magnesium out of the body. And as you can see by what I just described, magnesium is so important.
Yeah, you got that yummy, yummy.
What is black noise?
Black noise?
Yeah.
Black noise is something that Barrow's got very interested in. It's
intriguing.
Well, no, it's one facet of black noise is that everything, like a glass, if you phenopera singer hits a particular note, the vibrations are that of the metabolism of the glass, and it cracks it. Yeah. So black noise is the register within which you can crack a city or people, or it's a new controlled bomb. It's a noise bomb, in fact, which can destroy.
Is it a real thing? I mean, is it something that's actually somebody's experimenting
invented
with?
in France.
Could a tyrant use it to...
Well, until last year, you could buy the patent for it in the French patent office for about equivalent to $3-4.
And it would wipe out it's concentrated...
It depends how much money you put into it. I mean, a small one could probably kill about half the people here, but a big one could destroy a city, or even more. I mean,
it's a weird idea.
Don't look at. It's not my idea.
No. Well, let's not give the instructions on how to do it.
Did you hear that the government of Hawaii states their goal is to rebuild and make the entire island of Maui the first smart island? They want the entire island governed by AI, as outlined in the Hawaii Digital Government Summit of 2023, that they plan to host next month on September 25th, 2023 on Maui. Wow, now they're going to come to the rescue for this horrible problem. And last January in 2023, there was a smart city conference in Maui to turn Maui again into the smart city island, pushing everything electric, making 15-minute smart cities. And there was also a contract last year to build a high-rise condo complex and businesses in Lahaina, which is a historic town that couldn't have any new development in this area. But now it's demolished. So now I guess they have to rebuild, right? We talked to some people today, and a firefighter said that he alone pulled out over 80 bodies. And I think that's the count that they're giving you for the death toll. We're estimating that it's over 1,000 people. That's horrific. Why is the government being so hush-hush and shutting everything down and not letting people know what's really going on?
Downtown LA is fucked. There's so many homeless people down there. It is insane. You know, we ran my friend Coleon Noir is a lawyer, and he was in San Francisco talking to them about it. And he was like, what is the problem here? Is it a lack of funding? And this guy was talking goes, no, the opposite. The people that are on these homeless commissions, they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Some of them are making $250,000 a year. And they're out there, well, we're doing our best to outreach and get them safe crack pipes. Like, it's madness. They have no incentive. The people that are running it, if the homeless problem goes away, they don't have a job anymore. So what are they going to do? They're going to make sure it's manageable. And, well, we need more funding. We're very close to cracking this problem. We're going to need more funding.
Charter City is stunned by the sudden rollout of Rook Unlimited's most fantastic device ever. The Smart Mark. Throw your other devices away, because the Smart Mark is more than just a phone. It's part of you. Use it as cash. Book your travel. And even shoot video. Distribution points are all over the city. And don't let the lines discourage you. The Rook Unlimited Smart Mark is worth the wait.
I never realized how wonderful technology could make me feel. The Smart Mark has brought order to my life.
And the best part? It's absolutely free.
Earth looks like when you're a bazillion miles away from the planet Moon.
Yes, I just squinted at it.
From
and you're
the
right.
Moon, looking back at the
planet Moon. From the planet
Isn't the Moon a star?
No, the Moon is the planet, darling.
The sun is a star. Is the Moon really a planet?
The Moon is a planet.
Don't look at me like that. The sun is a star.
Planet.
Is the sun not a star?
I don't know what the sun is.
The sun is
we
a
don't
star,
know what
isn't
the
it?
sun is.
The sun is a star.
Did you know that there are 2 sites in the U.S. that have these directed energy weapons? One is Nevada and the other is Maui. Let's start with this directed energy Air Force Maui optical and supercomputing AMOS site located on the island of Maui. May I quote from the website? Listen to this. Directed energy harnesses the power of the electromagnetic spectrum to enable airmen to effectively and affordably strike critical targets at the speed of light. Question: why Maui? Answer: it's a new smart grid in Hawaii dubbed the, quote, Jump Smart Maui Project.
Quite a few times.
50 times?
More.
100 times?
More.
200 times?
More.
500 times?
Probably.
The moon is not
The
a planet.
moon
I
is
knew
a
it.
planet.
I knew it. You were
Excuse
trying
me?
to take me
No.
down that road.
Wait,
the moon is not a
excuse me,
planet.
Chunky, if you're listening to
This
me,
is
you have to
Rosebud.
Google the moon.
Someone,
okay?
I can guarantee,
the
because
moon
I
is
knew
such
it was
a
not
planet.
a planet.
I can't
the
even
moon
stand
is
it.
not a planet.
What else is it if it's not a planet?
It is not. I believe it's a star or something.
It's
it is not a
moon. It's a moon.
Didn't you do that thing in grade school where you had to name the planets, and there was Uranus and there was Saturn and the one with the rings and and then the Earth and with the moon is never in there, dude. It's not a planet. All right, here, look. This is key lime.
Okay.
The moon is what?
A natural
the moon
satellite.
Is a natural
but
satellite.
things live on it.
What's
that means
mean?
it's a planet. I don't know.
Is that what Google said?
I don't know what
No,
it
I don't
says.
like that at all. I don't even know what that means.
About to sit well for some people and not sit well for others. I hate Pride Month. And not because I care about who you want to love, but because I'm sick of the corporate pandering. I'm sick of seeing all-age drag shows where bearded men wrapped in fishnets and BDSM outfits are grinding their man bulges into the faces of children. I am sick of society pushing children to transition. I am tired of men dressing up as women to victimize other women in sports, public restrooms, locker rooms, and life. We have pride flags painted on our sidewalks. They're flying from our embassies. They're hanging in our schools. And yet a group that claims to be so deeply marginalized has an entire month dedicated to one of the 7 deadly sins. And I'm supposed to tolerate it? What once was a call for people to just mind their business and love who they want to love has turned into a campaign to force people, regardless of religious beliefs, to accept a certain way of life that they don't want to accept, and a trend to destroy childhood innocence in an attempt to validate sick adults, and I want no part of it.
Hello. I'm here to speak on behalf of our younger children and their academics. This book, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, which has an oxymoronic title based on its content, can be found in 26 elementary schools. It is geared towards K2, and as Macmillan Publisher says, it basically is geared toward ages 4 through 8. It introduces 4 different characters with different gender identities. It makes it seem as if gender is an imaginary concept that can be changed on a whim, when the truth is gender is factual. You're either a boy or a girl. And gender identity, what you see yourself as, that's imaginary. Well, let me read you a couple of things. First character is Ruthie. She's a transgender girl. That means when she was born, everyone thought she was a boy until she grew a little older, old enough to tell everyone that she's actually a girl. Then there's her brother, Xavier. Xavier is a cisgender boy. Which 4 through 8-year-old knows what cisgender means? Can they spell cisgender? That means when Xavier was born, everyone thought he was a boy, and as he grew older, it turned out everyone was right. He was a boy. Then there's Alex, the friend. Alex is both a boy and a girl. Then there's JJ. JJ is neither a boy nor a girl. Ever since JJ was very little, they...
Can anyone truly explain how cars are incinerated in this type of way? That a natural fire can literally cremate every single thing in its supposed path. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and I'm genuinely asking a question to anyone that has any kind of knowledge or experience in firefighting or anything like these natural disasters. Is this a natural occurrence that this can possibly happen? Something that can look like an apocalypse came through, that something just literally incinerated everything in its path. Can someone please comment below? If you have experience in anything like this, have you ever seen anything like this.
Okay, we are about to expose everything that does not make sense with these Maui wildfires. First of all, we have houses absolutely incinerated. We have cars melted into the ground, yet green still on the trees. Here's the aftermath of a real forest fire. As you can see, there's no green on the trees. This is just common sense. For something to be hot enough to melt cars into the ground but leave the green still in the trees is much different than a forest fire. This is a direct energy weapon assault. This is why these videos are circulating on the internet. Mountain Dew, DEW, directed energy weapons. Maui burst. What a coincidence. Why was it that the water was turned off and the fire hydrants were dry? All the fire marshals were out of town that night conveniently. The mayor and the governor were out of town that night as well. They wouldn't let people evacuate. The siren systems didn't sound at all. A perfect circle of fire around Lahaina. Molten metal next to intact trees. There was insurance policies taken out of Lahaina right before the fire. The fires happened in the most prestigious and most expensive places in Maui. The governor passed a bill about a month ago saying this land can be forfeited if we need to rezone. This one's real good. Lady Gaga, Bill Gates, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, Julia Roberts all had mansions in Maui that weren't touched conveniently. They passed a new law that doesn't allow development on Hawaiian land unless it's a natural disaster. Insurance companies are refusing to pay their policies for some loopholes. So now these rich billionaires that want to come in and build these smart cities can get these properties for next to nothing. The military turned away citizens trying to bring in supplies for the victim. This was all one big setup, a directed energy weapon assault on the people. We really need to wake up before it's too late, guys. Peace and love.
So I went out to Lahaina yesterday, and I thought that I should just update the world on what FEMA is doing or what's going on, because I just saw that they posted a website to defend themselves against the rumors. But I went out to Lahaina yesterday to help and talk to One Made Hub from a native Hawaiian, and they got insulin from a private sector because obviously we are not getting any help from the government or anyone at all. So they were getting insulin boated in, and it got turned away from FEMA on the shoreline. So they turned away that, and then this, which that was 1 or 2 days ago, because the hub literally told us that. They were like, we don't even know what's going on or why they're turning things away, because it's not like they're getting us stuff.
When I think of it today, I don't know how I'm living.
I remember that just as well. Look like to me, I can't.
Been slaves all our lives. And mother was a slave, sister was a slave, father was a slave.
They know nothing about reading right there. All that I know, they teach you to mind your master and your missus. Mama them didn't know.
My name is Fountain Hughes. I was born in Charlottesville, Virginia. My grandfather belonged to Thomas Jefferson. My grandfather was 115 years old when he died. And now I am 101 years old. Some people didn't have no beds when they were slaves. People slept on the floor. Sat up here and sat up there. Just like a lot of wild people. We didn't know nothing. Didn't like to look at no book.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to now invite young Amat Berbahagia Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, the 4th Prime Minister of Malaysia and President of the Perdana Global Peace Foundation, to address us.
Because the intention also is to reduce the number of people in this world. At the time when the New World Order was enunciated, the population of this world was only 3 billion. The intention was to reduce it to 1 billion. Now the population of the world is 7 billion. There will be a need to kill many billions of people, or to starve them to death, or to prevent them from giving birth, in order to reduce the population of this world. This is what is in store for most. For those who will suffer and die, there will be the peace of the grave.
And now a startling ABC News investigation. A whistleblower has come forward to tell consumers about the ground beef a lot of us buy at the supermarket. Is it what we think it is, or is it padded with a filler the whistleblower calls pink slime? ABC's senior national correspondent Jim Avila set out to get answers.
Gerald Zernstein grinds his own hamburger these days. Why? Because this former USDA scientist, now whistleblower, knows that 70% of the ground beef we buy at the supermarket contains something he calls pink slime. Beef trimmings that were once used only in dog food and cooking oil, now sprayed with ammonia to make them safe to eat, and then added to most ground beef as a cheaper filler. It was Zernstein who in a USDA memo first coined the term pink slime, and is now coming forward to say he won't buy it.
It's economic fraud. It's not fresh ground beef. It's a substitute. It's a cheap substitute being added in.
Zernstein and his fellow USDA scientist Carl Custer both warned against using what the industry calls lean, finely textured beef, and is widely known now as pink slime. But their government bosses overruled them.
Why didn't you consider it beef?
Because it was a salvage product.
Leftovers.
Fat that had been heated at low temperature and the excess fat spun.
Wait, you can sell me for how much? 100 million?
Yes.
Because of my kidneys?
Yes. Everything.
Organs?
Yes. 5. And your eyes also can sell it.
Oh, I come from the south, from way down south.
You telling me she's not actually black? Oh, I hate to disappoint you, Mark. No.
And my old Kentucky home is a French chateau, way down south in Dixie, swing low, sweet.
Shit, what's this black girl's number, man? He said, you gotta hook me up. He's like, how'd I tell him she ain't black? That's Judy Garland, by the way.
Oh, if you dig, you'll find everybody from that era did something.
Oh, yeah. She know the camera's rolling.
Did you know Oprah Winfrey has been securing Maui land like it's a trending bestseller? In just 2023, she invested in a vast 520-acre plot for $3.89 million, then went for another 330 acres at $2.47 million, not to mention the two 10-acre patches she bought in 2022 for $100,000 each. From a mere 100 acres in Maui, Oprah now commands over 1,000 acres. But here's the twist. Amidst this real estate surge, a sudden fire happens, destroying homes nearby, but leaving her vast terrains unscathed. Does that ring a bell? Think back to 2017. A deadly fire consumed homes near her Montecito mansion, yet once again, Oprah's property emerged untouched. And after that event, she expanded her Montecito land holdings to a whopping 70 acres, even snapping up a 4-acre complex in 2019, which was decimated by mudslides shortly after the 2017 fire. The connections, the acquisitions, and the timing are definitely food for thought.
With Casey Wong. Top story, Santa Barbara. 10,000 acres of wooded residential land were scorched in an instant when a laser cannon aboard the Strategic Defense Peace Platform misfired today during routine startup tests. Casey?
Yes, it was a day of mourning for the families of 113 people known dead at this hour. Among them, 2 former United States presidents who had retired in the Santa Barbara area. A day of mourning for a country.
Oh shit, I'm fucked. Oh shit, I'm fucked. Oh shit, I'm fucked. 'Cause I'm in love with you. I would make love to the rat that sits on your shoulder if it meant that I would be able to get closer to you. Was there seriously a spider crawling up my neck? Or was that...
Pay close attention here.
This isn't conspiracy bullshit. It's easy, simple math. Somebody's lying. Something doesn't make sense. You got 2,000 children missing from Lahaina schools reported, but in the same report, you say 850 people. What is it?
What I read this morning was truly shocking. This is literally probably going to go down as one of the worst natural disasters on American soil, but also really one of the greatest mysteries. And it needs to get solved, and it needs to get solved now. Take a look at this.
Okay, this is the Hawaii News Now website, and if you look at the date, it is August 22nd. They're talking about the missing people and getting an updated list, but look at this. It says, I'll zoom in, the list also includes no identified minors, even though children are among the victims. So of the updated list of 1,054 people, none of them are children. What
the hell is that? So they have a list, an updated list from 2 days ago of 1,054 unidentified or unconfirmed people, and none of them are minors? None of them are children? That makes zero sense. The FBI is compiling the list. Yeah, they're reputable. I just don't understand what is going on. I don't understand what the delay is. I don't understand this is insanity, and it's still not being reported. I just got off the phone with someone that didn't even know Maui. They thought Maui was a city.
Creep on in, on in, on in.
Let's talk about your cable ACE award.
Let's talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face. What about buttered sausage?
That's not your jam. It's not your thing. You don't like it?
It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips.
Do not cast pearls before swine. A very, very harsh statement, right? But what it means is, if you're offering words of wisdom to someone in the genuine attempt to help, and they treat that with contempt, then shut up, because you're demeaning your words by throwing them away. You think, well, how do you help someone who's aiming down? Well, sometimes you help them by walking away and saying, look, you're aiming down so hard that I am, despite the fact you're my brother, man, it's like, this is killing me. You're aiming down so hard, I'm not coming along with you. And the reason I'm not is to tell you in no uncertain terms that what you're doing is so terrible that I will even violate our kinship to oppose it. And maybe it'll take them 10 years to wake up to that, And so that can be the case because, people often have to be hit so many times before they'll learn.
So the latest in this dystopian outrage that is now all of China apparently is I once again cannot buy food. A couple days ago, my uncle and my cousin helped me get a cell phone that is linked to a Chinese bank card so that I could buy anything. But now, apparently, it has been flagged for some reason. I have to pass facial recognition identity verification, which is insane, because all I want to do is just spend my gift card balance on this debit card. I can't believe I'm doing this. I have to open my mouth. Oh my god. Terrifying. And of course, because it was my cousin who set this up for me, I did not pass verification. I guess it's a good thing that the Chinese app is not racist. But now, I once again can't buy anything.
Oh, what do you know? Paper straws contain toxic forever chemicals that could be worse than plastic. Do I look like a walrus? Not only do they fall apart in your drink and in your mouth, but they often come like wrapped in plastic. So I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose. They're now saying that it's not the eco-friendly drinking tube they've been promoted to be. Drinking tube. Is that... I've never heard of that before, but that makes sense. Why was it even called a straw? Belgian researchers found that these so-called green utensils are toxic and therefore potentially worse for the environment than their much vilified plastic counterpart. What do you say about that, Greta? I don't wanna lose you tonight. You're the only thing that matters. I don't wanna lose you this way. Just need your love. I don't wanna lose you tonight.
As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. In doing so, they will be protected against civil liability for actions taken in good faith. Federal government institutions will have a new broad authority to share relevant information with banks and other financial service providers to ensure that we can all work together to put a stop to the funding of these illegal blockades. This is about following the money. This is about stopping the financing of these illegal blockades. We are today serving notice. If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your semi-trailers home. The Canadian economy needs them to be doing legitimate work.
Breaking news, CDC admit 120,000 US children died suddenly.
Autumn Williams had only been working at this Chick-fil-A in Harrisburg for 3 months before she was pulled aside for an apparent uniform violation. What she was told caught her off guard.
She was like, "Hey Autumn, one of our supervisors came by and said they noticed blonde in your hair, and he asked that you leave and come back when it's taken out since it's an unnatural color to you."
This is the color Williams says she had in at the time.
I don't know what blonde's in my hair because my braids were brown and there wasn't blonde in them, and my natural hair color is blonde. And in the handbook, and the guy, when I had orientation, he never said anything about my hair color or it being an issue.
And Williams claims other co-workers also had unnatural hair colors, but she was singled out. And when she asked her human resources supervisor for clarification about unnatural hair colors, he referred Williams to the employee handbook. But the handbook doesn't specify what unnatural colors are. She says the lack of clarification led her to quitting.
Going around in circles, you said we'll always be together. But you weren't telling the truth. You were telling lies.
There's a thing out there, and you've read it in Life magazine. You've seen the front cover of the NASA SETI program. They've talked about $100 million investment. $100 million to invest to find out whether there is extraterrestrial intelligence. Well, they got something going here. You remember War of the Worlds?
The radio broadcast?
Yes, by Orson Welles, 1939.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, we've got something else coming in. They're going to make the announcement that they have discovered extraterrestrial intelligence. And this will frighten the people of the world. Say, oh my God, how can we deal with this as a nation? But we can only deal with it, as the United Nations. Yes, we're going to have a United Nations, a one world government. Yeah, it's necessary, they're going to say. It's absolutely necessary. Why?
Tell me.
To defend ourselves from those little green men, from the aliens that are out there. They will make that announcement. And the whole program is phony. It's fixed, it's set up, and you're going to be the patsy unless you understand what's going down and who's doing what to whom.
The Holocaust is big business
Because Germany so far has given the Jews, I think, at least $200 billion. So it's big business. And some of you are still getting $1,000 a month. And a lot of people don't know this. And then people don't realize who brought the slaves to America. They were Jewish ships.
Well, wait a minute. That's a whole nother thing. Let's take a break, because what the issue that we're talking about today is whether or not there was a Holocaust. We'll talk about slavery and who brought them here later. We'll be back after this. I'm not going to let you go now.
It's a rule, you know, the rules of perception. If they're black, then it's a gang. If they're Italian, it's a mob. But if they're Jewish, it's a coincidence, and you should never speak about it.
Well, they showed him the song, and
Elvis. They would play the song through, yeah.
and then he recorded the tune, I suppose.
Now, we were talking about this afternoon. Is it true that when he heard you performing the material, that he would imitate your style when he recorded the song?
Well, they did come out very close to the demos that we did.
Did you feel funny about him imitating so closely what you were putting on tape, or not?
Well, no, I felt a little funny the first time, and then after he sold 4 million, I didn't.
And this will be Don't Be Cruel, as it was initially written, by Mr. Otis Blackwell. Otis, go on over there and do this for us.
You know I can't be found, sitting home all alone. And if you can't come around, well, at least please telephone. Don't be cruel to my heart so true.
Is that a place and a point for them to raise that, or is it a done deal by the time Trevor Manuel?
It's actually an opportunity for members of parliament to actually digest and go through the documentation that is going to be presented to the public. And the opportunity for proper engagement is actually after the tabling of the...
The vibe be so off in some of the black clubs, man. We really be in there trying to have a good time listening to 30 straight serial killer songs. Like, we really in there trying to have a good time and vibe out to murder music. We in there hypnotized. We damn near somebody to violence. That's why we all in there on the verge of socking some shit. We keep listening to serial killer music. These young mad ass niggas talk about hitting somebody with a switch. Man, 30 clip, slide, slide, slide. Man, we in there drunk. We really hypnotized listening to this devil ass shit. I ain't gonna lie, like, I don't like some of the music, but it be like, man, how's we partying, trying to have a good time listening to murder music? This shit is psychopath shit, for real. Like, man, the thing, we gotta start switching it up, man. Something gotta...
1, 2, 3.
Truth is, ADHD is not even an attention deficit disorder at all. It's an attention overload disorder. Kids and adults that have this condition of attention deficit or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, they don't have a problem paying attention. They have a problem paying attention to too many things. And then what the modern medicine wants to do is give you an amphetamine to speed up, race the central nervous system to match the pace of the mind, instead of putting just amino acids into the bloodstream that allow the mind to naturally quiet itself.
I work hard, he work hard.
I worked hard. I get up at 4 o'clock and get my breakfast done. Just at dawn of day, I go to the field and we pick cotton.
Mr. and Mrs. Haywood Jenkins of Sharkey County, Mississippi have, between them, picked cotton for over a century.
My boss man came along. He says, Mary Jane? I said, sir. Says, I say, when you wash? I said, I washed last night. He said, I don't want you to do that no more. That's my agent, you know. He says, every Friday morning or Friday evening, you wash. And let all the children stay there with you until you get through. When you get through, then y'all can go back to the field and wait. Now, the agents was mean, some of them. Some of them was mean. They want to whoop the colored people. And that time, the white man come along. He says, hey, but you ain't in the field yet? He just had started applying. He said, yes, I just not had to eat my dinner. God damn it, you ain't doing a goddamn thing. Says, God damn it, I ought to take this damn stick and braille the hell out you. He said, no, she said, if you free the hell out of me, goddamn, I free the hell out of you. It makes me feel bad if I was under them, you know, how mean they was to treat us like that.
And up until this time, South Carolina had a practice by which, it was known as the diploma privilege. If you had graduated from a law school in South Carolina, you didn't have to take the state bar examination. You were admitted under what became popularly known as the diploma privilege. Now, when the law school at South Carolina State was created, the officials decided, well, look, we've got to do something about this diploma privilege, and so they persuaded the legislature to enact a law requiring the passing of the bar examination by all law school graduates. And so I tell young people, anybody who has graduated since 1951, that if you had to take the bar examination, you can, of course, blame me.
Making my way downtown, walking fast, faces pass and I'm homebound.
I've just been informed that we are shutting down this placard distribution as of now. Please. There are powers that be. I'm not sure of the reasoning. All I know is the order has come down to shut down the distribution of these placards. That's all I have for you.
Think you're going to cure cancer? It's a $194 billion a year business. Chemotherapy is big business.
Yeah.
You think if you came up with a pill, I got a pill that cures cancer, you'd take 3 steps and you popped in the head.
Dead.
I got a car that runs on water. Dead, fell hanging. I figured out a way to make all this power free. Another guy hanging.
You accidentally
it doesn't
killed.
make no because it's billions with a B of dollars involved, and so it's not going to stop. You can't. It's like you can't. Look, we don't live in a Walt Disney movie. The world is obviously very, corrupt and there's real evil. I mean, it's
Diabetes.
Killers, blood thinners, and chemotherapy drugs are just some of the substances that are found in your drinking water. There's new information that some drugs are ending up in our water at levels never seen before.
Most people don't think about where their water comes from. They just turn on the tap and they expect it to be there.
It's a public health crisis of massive proportions.
Toxic cocktail of chemicals in our tap water could lead to cancer.
PFAs, which are chemicals used in consumer products like firefighting foam and non-stick cookware, can be found in 610 locations across the country, and that includes drinking water for about 19 million people.
These chemicals could result in over 100,000 cancer cases over a lifetime, which is about 70 years.
Thousands of people in Parkersburg and along the entire Ohio River were contaminated.
They come and tested our water and they said, we'll send you a report in a couple of weeks or whatever. And they called us in a few days and they said, do not drink your water, don't use it for cooking, nothing.
How high were your levels when they told you about your water?
They're supposed to be under 40 parts per trillion. Ours is 26,000.
26,000.
A lot of chemicals, when they go into your body or when they end up in the environment, they break down, they slowly decompose. PFAS don't do that. Once you put PFAS somewhere, it's going to stay there practically forever. They are nearly indestructible.
So if you're drinking tap water, you might want to think twice.
Why the heck are celebs all painting their Maui properties the same weird shade of blue? Rumors have swirled since October 2022 about Lahaina's elite painting their homes a unique shade of blue. Not just any blue, mind you, but an exact shade. Sounds like a quirky celeb trend, right? But what if there's more to it? Let's delve into the science of lasers. or as they're ominously termed, dews. Why? Because there's something interesting about a specific shade of blue and these energy beams. Here's the science. Certain energy rays interact differently with various colors on the spectrum. Some colors are more resistant or reflective, protecting underlying materials from harm. Remember those untouched umbrellas amidst the Lahaina devastation? Skyscraping trees untouched by disaster can be explained away. But how do you justify these seemingly invincible umbrellas? They're not just any umbrellas. They're blue, that exact shade of blue. Is there a connection between this specific royal blue shade, possibly dubbed the Mother Mary blue, and the dews? Could Lahaina's celebrities have insider knowledge, giving their homes a blue shield against these energy beams? This Lahaina blue mystery might be more than just a color trend. Dive deeper, ask questions, and always be curious. What do you think? Coincidence or a coded message in a hue? You decide.
What we're seeing is that we are in a transition. We had this strong economic growth because of the work that this president has done in the past 18 months, and now what we're seeing is a transition into stable and steady growth.
People in America, they think they are saving the world by buying electric cars. I have some bad news for you. No, you're not. So think about people with the mindset of electric cars, is that we are not using internal combustion engine cars. We're not using fuel. We're not using gas. We're not using diesel. We're not using petrol to drive our cars. Majority of the countries in the world still, they use fuel to burn it and then make electricity out of it. In which sense you're saving the world? When you're using the same or more amount of energy to create more energy to get your car powered up. If you really want to save the world, why you are not banning ships, cargo planes? The amount of sulfur a ship creates, that's equivalent to 50 million cars.
The digital identity is not just a passport that you will have on your iPhone in a digital form. It entails just about everything the government would like to know about you. And yesterday in the Dutch media, we saw a perfect example of what it could entail in the near future. We had the CEO of one of the largest Dutch banks say, "Why don't we start with a personal carbon credit?" A carbon wallet, she called it, actually. Yeah. So right in line with the plans that the World Economic Forum people have for us. And she said it in a way that was particularly funny. She said, well, if everyone gets an individual personal carbon credit, why don't we make it so that rich people who, for example, want to go on holiday a little too often can buy personal carbon credit from other people who, for example, can't afford buying plane tickets or eating meat too often. So we can that way swap it out.
This is Catherine Chun, the original founder of Polaris Project. Polaris Project controls the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Well, she left Polaris as the founder in 2012, and she was selected by Barack Obama as the director of OTIP, the Office of Trafficking in Persons. That is an office under the HHS. At HHS, she oversees millions upon millions of dollars. Here it says 27 million to be exact, and she plays a part in deciding how this money gets allocated to grants and programs. The National Human Trafficking Hotline gets millions upon millions of dollars per year from the HHS, federal grants.
Take another watermelon, burn it up, the baby with the hammer on the moon, and it's nothing like the watermelon for the hungry.
The schemes, techniques, tricks, laws, public edicts, everything that the dominant white society did to socially engineer you into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game. You've been sold into it. You have no substantive leadership. The leadership you got right now is totally committed to what they set up under the benign neglect policy, which means let's fabricate all these other groups to take away the benefits that black folks should be getting. Let's give it to them. We'll fabricate new groups and call them fabricated classes. We'll now come up with things called minorities, poor folk, people of color, diversity, multicultural, and gays. Those are fabricated classes. Now, I wrote the first affirmative action plan in 1970 for the state of Florida. When I was over education for the state, I did not write it for minorities. I didn't write it for gays and humpbacks and lesbians and midgets. I wrote it for black folk. In the history of this nation, they have given up over 1 billion acres of land to whites. Free. And that not only they get the free land, but the free land and double and triple in value every 20 years. That's why they got all the wealth. And on that land, all the gold, silver, chrome, bauxite, magnesium, and timber increased in value. And out of that 1 billion acres of land. And by the same token, they denied giving black folk 40 acres.
For the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Chief Warhorse and her tribe do not officially exist. They're not entitled to federal support.
We are punished today because we helped free slaves, okay? If my tribe never helped to free slaves, they may never would have bothered us. If we would have just continued helping Europeans as they came in, we were fine. But when we decided to help the slaves, now we did something wrong. So that's why I don't have my recognition today.
Of course, it's always the black women with weaves who want to hate on my beautiful, free-form, curly dreadlocks. It's like, no. Bye, Shaquandra.